Today we're going to talk about the biggest trade in the history of the league, the Kevin Durant trade to the Phoenix Suns. While everyone is ecstatic about the Suns' chances of winning the championship, there is a hidden disaster lurking in the shadows that nobody seems to be talking about. In this video, we're going to dive deep into the potential downside of this trade and why it could be a disaster waiting to happen for the Phoenix Suns. So buckle up and get ready for some eye-opening analysis that will change the way you look at this trade. The deal with Kevin Durant, probably the largest in NBA history, may turn out to be a complete catastrophe for the Phoenix Suns. Give me about 10 to 12 minutes, and I'll tell you why in great detail. When the Suns lost Game 7 at home by 30 points, it was undoubtedly the most embarrassing elimination in NBA playoff history. This is a squad that not only reached the finals the year before, but also won 64 games the year before that. After Kevin Durant's first trade request, they zealously pursued him during the last summer. DeAndre Ayton participates in those trade negotiations but eventually decides to remain with the organization solely out of necessity. The team is not all that healthy, but they still decide to trade for KD, giving up two promising young players, two of the most valuable player types in the league, and future first-round picks for a 35-year-old who tore his Achilles a couple of years ago, injured his knee in the same way 2 seasons in a row, and logged more than 40,000 minutes in the NBA. This transaction seemed like a last-ditch effort by a squad that was plainly in decline, was drowning, but didn't have much of a future, and was grabbing at straws to find a way to become a contender once again. They only agreed to this because they added Robert Sarver as a new owner. The Kevin Durant deal would not have been done by him, and he didn't want to have to spend all that money necessary to maintain his level of competition after acquiring Kevin Durant. Management won't sign Kevin Durant if they don't purchase the Suns. A new owner often wants to make a big entrance, and his entrance might destroy the team. There was a reason, other than money, why the previous owners didn't want to trade for Kevin Durant this past summer when they had a chance to. It's because this crew was productive. They had one of the finest records in history last year, winning 64 games. 2 years ago, Mikal Bridges and Cam Johnson were essential components of each of the teams that advanced to the championships, and they just exchanged them for a man who is in his mid-30s and has a history of injuries. The rationale for the Phoenix Suns trade of Kevin Durant is the most crucial information in this passage. They include the possibility of the club reaching the finals, Chris Paul's decline, DeAndre Jordan's drive, Booker's absence, and the arrival of KT. Many often claim that Phoenix had to make the move since they weren't going anywhere in the standings. Yet, if you look at the roster, in particular the guys they lost in the Durant deal, everyone is on the same schedule, save Chris Paul. It will be difficult to pull all of this together and make it to the finals. The Phoenix Suns' potential return to finals contention depends on finding a replacement for Chris Paul, which is the most crucial information in this book. They could have waited until the summer or exchanged Paul for someone better than him in return for a few first-round selections. But Phoenix's recent history demonstrates that this wasn't the case. In addition, the roster outside of Chris Paul is still young, developing, and on the same schedule. They merely took half of that time away to add someone whose career trajectory is more similar to Chris Paul's. Eventually, depth, size, and defensive adaptability rather than star power was the key to those Phoenix teams' success. The Suns have been the greatest team in the NBA in recent years at winning tight games, and the one aspect of their game that KD improves over Bridges and Johnson is their ability to win late. As a result, their other advantages, such as depth, stature, and defensive adaptability, became disadvantages. Nonetheless, they continue to be large and had choices. Bridges continues to be among the league's top perimeter defenders. KD has been fantastic defensively this year, and Booker has improved. The consequences of the transaction for the Phoenix Suns are the most crucial information in this book. Although they have a decent chance of making the playoffs, it is not only about this season. As the Suns have no other alternatives for those players save just outscoring the opposition, it is also about the team's future. They will enter the summer with Chris Paul, KD, and Ayton dissatisfied if they lose in the second round. Outside of Booker, the Suns don't have much to look forward to. Booker is still there, however. Suddenly, out of nowhere, KD starts searching for a new contract and maybe another club. These players are older, and this offseason you don't have any first-round choices. Phoenix cannot exchange any of their future firsts, even if they wanted to. In the upcoming draft, they don't have a first-round pick. It's over if they don't win the championship this year or the next year, since they have so little room to develop and add to this squad. We're considering the prospect that we won't have those first-round selections and that Devin Booker may search for a new club. Perhaps 8 and still dissatisfied. This man once selected first overall. He won't likely be very enthusiastic about going out there and establishing selecting roles for all these other players 50 times a game when they're all getting shots. He's likely to want a greater role at some time. He is dissatisfied in Phoenix. With this transaction, there are a lot more unanswered questions than I think people understand. And eventually, one of these clubs that is selling away all these potential firsts and selections will pay the price. Someone is going to be burnt at some time and trade away the Jason Tatum or Jaylen Brown of the world, perhaps starting a dynasty similar to the one we may see in Boston over the next seasons. That will happen, and Phoenix may be the team affected by it. Well, yeah, they have improved this year. They have a stronger chance of winning the championship both this year and the next year, and if they get everyone working together, even if it doesn't work out this year, they will still likely be the favorites to win the title. Yet there is far more danger involved, and I think people are aware of this. Congratulations to those of you who watched to the end of the video after I've said all that, since this isn't truly my viewpoint. It seems so one-sided, including myself, that Phoenix had to make the deal, so I simply wanted to make the case. I think they did. Before the transaction, they weren't serious candidates. The deal was therefore finalized. They are now contenders. Their ceiling has now been increased. As excellent as those two young wings are, as lovely as it would be to have them, KD is KD. It's impossible to argue that this guy is the most talented and finest trade in league history. The largest transaction in history may have occurred. As I said in the introduction, even though I don't feel this way, I think it's important to bring out the drawbacks, since everyone is so enthusiastic about what this team may be that they are all skipping over what could turn out to be a disaster in Phoenix, similar to when the Clippers acquired Kawhi and Paul George. Hey, this looks cool, but there is another scenario where Shea's awesome and all these picks matter, and the Thunder gets good, and you never make a final and win a title because these guys are injured all the time. And the Clippers have experienced something similar. Whenever there is a drawback, everyone first gets enthusiastic about the potential benefits, but if they lose in the second round, this year doesn't turn out as they had hoped. Although, I don't genuinely think this may be a terrible situation for Phoenix. We hope you enjoyed it and gained some new insights into this exciting NBA trade. Now, we want to hear from you. What do you think about Durant's trade? Let us know your thoughts in the comments section below. And don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel for more NBA content and analysis. Until next time, keep following your favorite teams and players, and we'll see you in the next video. Until then, peace.